let's now finally code up the background video of the stories section. So we have this video here basically spanning this entire section here. So from the beginning of the section all the way until the end. And it also works no matter what the screen width, okay? So on all screen width, the video simply stays here spanning over the entire section, okay? So let's now do that. And we start as always in the HTML. So how are we going to approach this background video? Well, what we're going to do is to add an element to this section, of course, and make it the exact same size as the section, and then put the video in that container, okay? So let's do that. So I'm going to call this background video, so BG for background. And that's a container. And now in here is where we actually will use the video element. So in HTML5, there's a video element which allows us to embed videos on a web page. So video, and I'm going to call it BG, and then content. So we're still following the BEM methodology here. Now this is how videos work. So we will not specify this source tag there, but instead what we're going to do is to specify something called the source in here. So again, instead of using the src attribute here in the video tag like we would do with an image, there's actually a source tag in HTML which allows us to embed a video file into this video element. Okay, so source, and then here we have the source attribute that we had in the images as well. So let's take a look at our images folder, because that's where the video is. And actually there are two formats. So we have one in the MP4 format and one in the WebM format. Okay, so img video MP4, and so I should say that this is a type video and then MP4, and then another one source src attribute, and now img video and the other one, and then type video of the format WebM. Okay, now I got these videos from a very handy website which is called Cover, so cover with 2 Rs.co, and so here you can download all kinds of different videos for your websites, and they're of course all free to use. And so when you download the video from here, it already comes in these two versions, so the MP4 and WebM. And we need these two formats in order to make absolutely sure that they work across all of the browsers, at least all of the modern browsers. Of course, this is not going to work in a Internet Explorer 8 or 9 or something like that. But again, most of the things that I'm showing you here are not working on those very old browsers that shouldn't be used anymore anyway. And now what we usually also do is to then put some text here, like your browser is not supported. Because what will happen if none of these can be played by the browser, then this text here will show in the browser instead of the video. And so if the MP4 cannot be played and the WebM cannot be played, like in a very old Internet Explorer, then this text here will appear. Next, what we can also do, and what we should do, is to add some commands here basically to this video. So we can like specify attributes for the video that we're implementing. So we can say, for example, autoplay. And so now this video will start playing automatically. Now autoplay is usually seen as a bad thing, but in this case, since it's a background video, and since we're also putting it muted, okay, so no sound on the video, this is another property that we can specify here. All right, and so since it's muted, it's not really a problem to having it on autoplay. Something else we can do here, like another option, is to say loop, because otherwise it's not going to loop, okay? So these are the three commands that we should put here. So the three options basically. So let's now take a look at what we got here. And so indeed, here it is. It's not yet the background video, of course, we didn't format that yet, but at least the video, you see, it is implemented by now. And it's bigger than the screen size also, so we should take care of that. And then we should also position it exactly where we want it to be. And let's actually start with that, okay? So, BG video. And what I'm going to do here is to actually create a brand new component. And that's because, once again, we may want to reuse the component on some other place of the website. All right, so this doesn't have to be the only place where we have a background video. And if we can have another one, well, then that should mean that it's basically a component. So BG video here. Forgot the underscore. And okay, so BG video. And I also have to, as always, define it in here. BG video. All right. So BG video. And as I was saying in the beginning, we will position this one using absolute positioning. Position absolute. Top 0, left 0, and then we want the height to be exactly the one of the parent, and the same thing for the width. 100%. Okay, so that is just the container. Now what I have to do then also is to set the parent here, so section stories, to position relative, right? So it's here in home, and let's say position relative. So let's take a look now at how this works. And whoa, great. So it's already actually behind our elements here. So great, right? Well, actually not behind all of them. So you see the button and the H3, they're hidden behind that. Okay, and so we can take care of that by simply setting a very low Z index, and it can even be negative. And so we can be sure that it will be behind all of the other elements, right? Let's take a look again. Oh, and actually it's now like also hidden behind the section as well. And that's because we still have that background color going on there, which we don't want. And so now basically it's transparent, and then it should be visible. And indeed, here we go. Now the next thing that we also want to do is to actually give it some opacity. So we don't want to see the video like this, like with all these colors. It should just be a very subtle effect in the background there. So let's give it some opacity so that we can just see it like really just a little bit, okay? So something like this. And that's already getting pretty close to what we had in the original. Now another thing that we have here going on is that this one is not really opaque like it is here in the example. So you see that here you can actually look through this element. And so let's do that. So we have to change the background color here. We cannot just say opacity 50% or something like we did with the video, because then everything, so including the content, would also get this opacity. And we only really want this background to be like that. So here, let's go back to the story. And so where is it actually? Ah, here. So we use RGBA. And then let's say like 60%. So that looks much nicer, I think. And so now we have to fix this problem that the video is overflowing. So it's taking its entire width, and it's also not really filling this entire section, right? Because the section goes all the way until down here, I believe. Yes, indeed. And so of course we want to fill the entire section, and we also don't want it to be outside of our web page like this, obviously. So there's a very good way to do that. And so let me show it to you. So we need to select now that video itself, content, and let's start by saying that we actually want it to be 100% high and 100% wide, but that alone is not going to fix it. So let me show you why that is. Okay, so now the width is 100% of the section, but it's now covering even less of our section. And that's because this, of course, maintains the aspect ratio of this video. So if it was wider before, then of course it also was higher. So it could occupy more of our section here. So what do we do to actually occupy this entire section here, but also while maintaining the aspect ratio? And there is, of course, once again, quite a new property which allows us to do exactly that with CSS. And it's called object fit. And when we set object fit to cover, then this is actually pretty similar to the background size cover, which we do all the time with the background images, right? So what object fit cover will do is that the element, and so in this case the video, will fill the entire parent while still maintaining its aspect ratio, okay? And the parts of the video that then don't fit the parent element, they will simply be clipped off, okay? Let's take a look now. And here we go. So that's the solution, and that makes it work actually. All right, well, still not 100%, but we're almost there. And again, what did the trick was this object fit cover. So again, this is very similar to having background size set to cover, where it tries to cover the entire element with the image. And so object fit is similar to that, but instead of working with background images, it works with HTML elements, or videos in this case. But of course it would work just the same with images. And so we can have one parent element, then in there an image, and then with object fit, we can make that image cover the parent element. And we could actually use other values here instead of cover. So let me show that to you, okay? So right now we have cover, but we could also have, and let me reload this, but we could also have fill. And what it would do then is to make it fill in all the height and all the width, but not maintaining its aspect ratio. So you see now actually in the video here that the aspect ratio is different. It's not the way it should be. Let me remove that and you will actually immediately see it, right? It doesn't look natural anymore, okay? So it should be cover. Then it's good again, okay? And finally, it could also be contain. But I think that's also not really useful, because basically that's what we had before. It's trying to fill its parent element, but without clipping anything on the sides. And that's not what we want. So we want cover. Then it's filling the parent element from top to bottom, or from top to bottom here, of course. And then clipping on the side what is too much. Okay. Now it's actually not 100% clipping everything that it should. So it's going a bit outside here, and so we have to fix that. And so, such as we did before, when something overflowed or element, we use overflow hidden. So this is a very handy property, so keep that one in mind. Whenever something like this happens, you can just throw that in there and it will fix the problem, just like this, okay? And so I think that is actually it. So you just implemented a background video in CSS. So that's really cool, right? Maybe you have seen this effect somewhere on some page, but never really knew how it works. And it's actually a bit more simple maybe than you think, right? So it was just a handful of different properties and then pulling the video into the HTML, and that's it. So another section completed. So we're moving on greatly here. All that we have left to do is actually this booking section here, then this very simple footer. There's navigation here, of course, so that's something that I left for the end because it's rather complex. So there's this great navigation here. And then another thing that's also missing that I showed you in the beginning is that when you hover over these cards and hit the button, then it actually shows this pop-up box here. So this is all pure CSS once more. And so you're going to learn that over the next couple of lectures, okay? But we're making good progress, so keep hanging in there, and I'll see you next time.